You guys don't forget, give the video a like and a thumbs up. The channel's doing well, y'all. I mean, we are knocking right there on 25, coming up on
25 G's.
25. Yay, baby. So thank you all so much for spreading the word. Like, share, subscribe, follow us different places around the internet. The Remix Morning Show is on Instagram. Be sure to give that a follow. But Jared is chomping at the bit to bring us some news, Dr.
Yeah,
Ball.
because it blends so perfectly. I saw a movie last night that I had never heard of that my man Dr. Burroughs put us on to, called Brothers. Do you know this film starring Bernie Casey from 1977? Do you all know this movie?
I was
Say the name again?
Tyrese, but that's a different movie.
Right. I know. That's what I would have thought too. That silly movie with Tyrese and Mark Wahlberg and all that. But no, in 1977, this movie came out starring Bernie Casey, Vanetta McGee, Ron O'Neal. You know, I guess this is during or after Superfly. Yeah, right. And it's the story, the unofficial telling of the George Jackson Angela Davis story in a not horribly done 1977 film. Now, but what they do, and this is so beautifully, and it was so perfectly timed with what came out yesterday from some of our comrades here at BPM. So I'm going to come back and forth to this real quick, because yesterday, and I know we're going to get more of I'm not going to go into this right now too much, because I know there's more coming on in terms of a discussion. But our comrades here, Joy James and Kalanji Jamachanga, published this piece, an inquest from Harvard, slave, rebel, or citizen. Abolitionist Ruchell Cinqué Magee is this country's longest held political prisoner. And it's a great article about Ruchell Magee, some of the history. I know there's going to be more discussion of it on this platform later. Please go check it out. And you know, but the overlap here, and this is what had me so amped, is that not only did this article come out saying, look, Ruchell Magee's been in prison longer than anybody. Everybody's forgetting about him. He's not discussed. They juxtapose his popularity against Angela Davis, who was his co-defendant initially, and then they had their trial severed. And we're going to get all of that in the coming whenever, and we can talk however you all much want to today. But the point of the story is Rochelle has been erased. He's still locked up. He's been erased. I go and watch Brothers last night because my man Todd is like, yo, there's this movie and it's on Tubi. You can watch it for free with commercial breaks. Here's an ad for you all. Send me my check. And I had never even heard of this film. So I watch it, and it's a dramatization. Names are changed, you know, but if you know the story, you're like, oh, wow, okay. But they do a number of things that are problematic, but one overlap for this other piece. They set the tone in terms of what I think is still a problem today narratively. In telling the story the way they do, they erase Ruchell Magee. So you get the Angela Davis character, you get the Jonathan and George Jackson characters, who are brothers. That's the title. That, you know, the George character's locked up. Jonathan is there, but in this version, Jonathan is not connected to the Black Panther Party, who are not mentioned. Angela's not connected to the Communist Party, who are not mentioned. So that's very slick also, by the way. But Jonathan, instead of being at the Marin County Courthouse to arm and then free, that part is skipped. So George is the one on trial in the movie. He gets taken away in chains, and Jonathan in the court with a pistol that he had seen Angela get the night before in response to George telling her to arm herself for self-defense to protect herself because of the publication of his book, not for anything else. Jonathan takes the pistol. Well, we don't see that. We see him eyeing the pistol that she's buying for self-defense. And then the next scene is in the courtroom. He draws the pistol, takes the judge and another prosecutor hostage. They go out to the van. They all get shot up in the van. And that's that. So there is no, at that point, that's where Ruchell Magee would have been entering the story. There is none of that. So he's not even acknowledged to have existed, much less eventually go on trial, blah, 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 blah. And then the movie just goes on and then, of course, ends. So then you come to today reading this piece, brilliantly written by James and Changa. And it's like they set it up not only from the jump, but narratively in terms of media from the jump. And here we are with the same problem going on. And then if I just will add on just very quickly, and then we can stop, I'll stop. 2 other pieces have come out very recently. One in Hammer and Hope, another new journal, and a story about it in The Nation magazine with some of our comrades and colleagues and peers who are leading new ventures funded by the Casey Foundation and others to tell and permanently or more institutionalize the study and research around political prisoners and those histories. There's a lot, I think, in the coming weeks and days that we on this platform should get into around that, because there's a lot of, I think, contradictions. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, I don't know. But anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. So I'll let me stop there. Just thought that was interesting. Fascinating stuff. That was it.
I always think that even amongst us as folks who have done organizing on it, people usually pick, they take the lead of the media, right? For the most, not exclusively, but then you begin to create these narratives around who were the people who are well known because of their closeness to somebody and or because of something that they did or they led. And then you're right, like the other folks don't, when people think about even the New York-based political prisoners who were, most of which, if not everybody now, is either has been released recently or passed away in prison. There was Seth Robert Hayes, who people, Ja Teddy Heath, right? These were not well-known Panthers. Folks never en masse, or, no one wrote a book about them, and no one did their movie version of events and stuff like that. So, but they were Panthers who were like at the sort of like regular folks or whatever, but they got involved in stuff or they got accused of stuff and convicted of stuff. And in their cases were always harder because it was that whole idea of trying to explain not only who they were and what they did, what they were convicted of doing, but, why they were important, as opposed to like an Asada, right? Or as opposed to even Dhoruba to a certain degree. Like when folks were not known at the time of their arrest, or there wasn't like a big media narrative around them, a lot of times, and again, if they're not like I guess California is a big media state, so there should be more attention or whatever, but folks did not necessarily pay attention to some of the other Panthers who did the day-to-day, day in out work, also were targeted by COINTELPRO and got caught up, and they languished, right? Because people didn't know about them.
The not knowing, I think, is very big there, because having been working with you guys on this platform, I understand that you have to really intentionally seek out this information, because these stories and these situations that our elders have, were in the civil rights movement and afterwards Black Power movement, etc. My elders never shared those stories with me. Even my elders who were involved in SNCC and involved in student organizing in the 60s and 70s, it was just sort of mentioned, like, a lot of folks went to jail. Oh, well, who went to jail? Like, what happened to them? And I think there's a lot of still traumatized folks from that era who maybe never shared these stories or pass them along to the next generation. I mean, the familially along to their next generation, because they were still traumatized by all the pain, the intentional targeting and destruction of some of these movements, and intentionally targeting some of these individuals. Folks don't talk about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's traumatic. So to even be aware of what happened to Ruchell Magee, someone my age or even younger, you would have to intentionally go look for it, because those stories are not just simply being passed down.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. And not that he needs more praise around here, but this is again why, people like Kamau and others, Kalanji as well, going back for me decades now. It's kind of weird. Put me on indirectly, you know, and I followed Kamau into the, not directly, but indirectly into the MXGM, Malcolm X grassroots movement, because that was one of the groups I saw doing that kind of work with the hip hop and the political prisoners and that biting analysis, and it wasn't being talked about anywhere else. You know, it is hard to find. That's exactly right. So the kind of work that we try to do throughout this platform is really important.